Welcome to MrKhanMaths, and in this video I will be multiplying decimals with whole numbers. We will be following 3 steps to success rules which will help us break down and solve questions which involve multiplying whole numbers with decimals. Start with example 1, 2.3 times 9. Now, by following my steps to success, step 1 instructs me to set up the question by rewriting the problem by removing the decimal point. Now, not to worry, the decimal point that I'm removing, I will bring back in at the end as it plays a significant part in reaching our final answer. Step 2 requires us to multiply what we now have, 23 times 9. I will rewrite this question and solve it as I would normally do for any other multiplication problem. I will be using the carry over method. However, if you are happy to use a grid method, please feel free to do so. So I'm going to multiply 9 with 3, which gives me 27. I put my 7 here and carry over my 2. 9 times 2 is 18. Add the 2 I carried over, gives me 20. So the answer for 23 times 9 is 207. However, this is not our final answer. Now, moving on to our final step. This instructs us to input our decimal into the correct position to get our final answer. We do this by looking at our original problem, which is 2.3 times 9. And what we are looking for is how many numbers in the whole question are after a decimal point or to the right of it. We can only see one, which is the number 3 that I have circled as such. So as we have one number after the decimal point in our question, that means we also have one number after the decimal point in our final answer. So I will rewrite the answer to 23 times 9 as such and begin to start counting from the end where to input my decimal point to get my final answer. So beginning from the end, I count one position, so therefore the decimal point will be between 0 and 7, and the final answer to 2.3 times 9 is equal to 20.7. Moving on to example 2, 8.3 times 13. So again, we will follow our steps to success to get our final answer. Step 1 instructs me to set up the question by rewriting the problem by removing the decimal point. So 8.3 times 13 will now become 83 times 13. So step 2 requires us to multiply what we now have, 83 times 13. And again, I will rewrite this question and solve it as I would normally do for any other multiplication problem which involves whole numbers. Again, I will be using the carry over method, but please feel free to use any method you are comfortable with. So let's start off by multiplying 3 times 3, which gives us 9, and then 3 times 8, which gives us 24. Moving over to our tens, I'll put my placeholder. 1 times 3 is 3, and 1 times 8 is 8. Once I work the answers out, I will be adding them together to get my final answer for 83 times 13. 9 plus 0 is 9, 4 plus 3 is 7, and 2 plus 8 is 10. Please note this is not the final answer for our original question, which is 8.3 times 13. However, it is the answer for 83 times 13. So moving on to our final step, step 3. This instructs us to input our decimal into the correct position to get our final answer. We do this by looking at our original problem, which is 8.3 times 13. And what we are looking for is how many numbers in the whole question are after a decimal point or to the right of it. We can only see one number, which is the number 3, and I have circled it as such. So in our question, we have one number after or to the right of the decimal point. So that means in our final answer, we will also have one number after the decimal point. So using my answer to 83 times 13 of 1079, starting from the end, I'm going to count one position as such and place my decimal point in between 7 and 9. So the final answer to 8.3 times 13 is 107.9. Now let's try an example which is slightly different. 3.365 times 15. We are going to still follow our steps to success to get to our final answer. So step 1 instructs me to set up the question by rewriting the problem by removing the decimal point. So 3.365 times 15 will now become 3,365 times 15. Step 2 requires us to multiply what we now have, 3,365 times 15. And again, I will rewrite this question and solve it as I would normally do for any other multiplication problem which involves whole numbers. Again, I will be using the carry over method, but please feel free to use any method you are comfortable with. So I'm going to start off by multiplying 5 times 5, which gives me 25. So I'll place my 5 here and carry over the 2. 5 times 6 is 30, plus the 2 is 32. So I'll place my 2 here and carry over my 3. 5 times 3 is 15, plus the 3 is 18. So I'll place my 8 here and carry over the 1. And then 5 times 3 is 15 again, plus the 1 is 16. Now moving on to my tens, I put my placeholder and multiply 1 times 5 is 5, 1 times 6 is 6, 1 times 3 is 3, and then 1 times 3 is 3 again. So once I've got my answers, I'm going to add them together to get my final answer for 3,365 times 15. So 5 plus 0 is 5, 2 plus 5 is 7, 8 plus 6 is 14, so I'll place my 4 here and carry over the 1. 6 plus 3 is 9, plus the 1 is 10, so I'll put my 0 here and carry over the 1. Then 1 plus 3 is 4, plus the 1 is 5. So the final answer for 3,365 times 15 is 50,475. However, this is not the final answer for my original question. Finally, step 3. This instructs us to input our decimal into the correct position to get our final answer. We do this by looking at our original problem, which is 3.365 times 15. And what we are looking for is how many numbers in the whole question are after a decimal point or to the right of it. We can only see 3 numbers which are to the right of our decimal point. And these are 3, 6, and 5 here as I have circled. So in our question, we have 3 numbers after or to the right of the decimal point. So that means in our final answer, we will have 3 numbers after the decimal point. So I'm going to write the answer to 3,365 times 15. And then I'm going to insert my decimal point to get my final answer for my original problem. So I'm going to start from the end and I'm going to count 3 places. 1, 2, and 3. So I'm going to insert my decimal point between the 0 and the 4 like this, which leaves us with the final answer for 3.365 times 15 as 50.475. Now finally, example 4, 12.74 times 11. We again are going to follow our steps to success to get our final answer. So step 1, we are going to set up the question by rewriting the problem by removing the decimal point. So 12.74 times 11 now becomes 1,274 times 11. Step 2, This requires us to multiply what we now have, 1274 times 11. And again, I will rewrite this question and solve it as I would normally do for any other multiplication problem which involves whole numbers. I will be sticking with my carry-over method. However, if you would like to use any other multiplication method, please feel free to do so. So I'm going to start off by multiplying 1 with 4, which gives me 4. 1 times 7 is 7. 1 times 2 is 2. And 1 times 1 is 1. When I move over to my tens, I'll place my placeholder here. And now I'm going to multiply 1 times 4, which is 4. 1 times 7 is 7. 1 times 2 is 2. And 1 times 1 is 1. Once I've got my answer, I'm going to total up my numbers to get my final answer for 1274 times 11. So 4 plus 0 is 4. 7 plus 4 is 11. So I put my 1 here and carry over my 1. 2 plus 7 is 9. Plus the 1 is 10. So I put my 0 here and carry over my 1. And 1 plus 2 is 3. Plus the 1 is 4. And then I have my 1 here, which I bring down like this. Now, the answer to 1274 times 11 is 14,014. Please remember this is not our final answer and we have a final step to do to reach our final answer for our original problem. Finally, step 3 instructs us to input our decimal into the correct position to get our final answer. We do this by looking at our original problem, which in this case is 12.7 times 11. And what we are looking for is how many numbers in the whole question are after a decimal point or to the right of it. We can see 2 numbers are in this question, and these are the number 7 and the number 4. So in our question, we have 2 numbers after the decimal point. So that means in our final answer, we will have 2 numbers after the decimal point. So I'm going to start off by putting my answer to 1274 times 11, and then I'm going to input my decimal point by counting from the end of the number 2 places, 1 and 2. So therefore I'm going to input my decimal place in between 0 and 1 like I have done, and the final answer to my original problem of 12.74 times 11 is equal to 140.14. Now that you have seen the worked examples, please go ahead and have a go at Mr. Khan's skills check questions to see how you get on with multiplying decimals with whole numbers. Here are Mr. Khan's skills check questions. Please press pause and have a go at the questions on your screen and press play when you're ready for the answers to be revealed. Here are the answers to Mr. Khan's skills check questions. Check how you have got on by marking the questions you have done. Thank you for watching. Please do not forget to like, share and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Bye for now and see you again soon.